Enough complaining and saying what's wrong. We also need solutions. I detest people that do this all day long but have no desire to actually see change. I would like to get to solutions, but I just want to add one tiny cherry on something that's already not very appetizing, is the scandal that are letters of recommendations, okay? So when I was at City New Paltz, I had a student email me asking for a letter of recommendation, okay? And he was a very good student, so I definitely wanted to do it. However, given the fact that I am living off of starvation wages, okay, I'm constantly on the job hunt. I have one, Union County College takes my hours away without compensating me, so it's not stable, okay? None of these colleges offer health insurance. Now, SUNY New Paltz actually had the kindness to inform me that I could, get health insurance even though it's part-time. Oh, how awesome. Yeah, but I'm not going to have a paycheck left if there's deductions for health insurance, okay? So again, how crazy. It's crazy. It's insane the idiocy that runs in America right now in regards to the situation. And we have to change it. We'll get to that in a second. So a student wanted a letter of recommendation, and it was such a burden on my time, and I how am I supposed to find time? Because a letter of recommendation, that's a serious thing. That takes several hours. It has to be well written, no errors, be cleaned up, and you feel personally responsible. And he wanted to switch schools, and I agree because he wasn't very challenged in the class, and I supported that. Like, he definitely was very bright, and not to say that the school wasn't for bright people. It was a very good school, but he obviously had very ambitious, and he needed that letter of recommendation. So what did I do? I did it. I sacrificed my own happiness and well-being, and it was a huge burden on me to do that letter of recommendation. But I understand what it's like when you're young and you're trying to get out of a situation and you can't. And the reality is, the teacher, he wanted it from me because I recognized something in him. So I had to do this. But this came at a huge cost of my time and responsibility. And I just felt so bad at first for not responding. Okay, so these are just some of the small, and there's all kinds of small things like this that add up that make adjunct teaching really, again, you pay to be a teacher. You pay to be a teacher. You are paying money and time, which is money, to be a teacher. Enough complaining and saying what's wrong. We also need solutions. I detest people that do this all day long but have no desire to actually see change. I want to see change. We can do change, okay? And I'm going to offer some solutions, and I hope that you have your own solutions, and please let me know in the comments what you see as are some viable solutions. Viable solutions, okay? We'll start with the small, and then we'll work our way up. So the small thing we just mentioned was the burden that was letter of recommendations, okay? Students do need letters of recommendations because how are they supposed to advance, okay? We'll get to that in just a couple seconds. But first off, I think colleges and universities, if they can't be bothered to offer, living wages, okay, and to hire full-time faculty, and they should inform their students, this professor is here as an adjunct faculty. Okay, you can call a guest faculty. That's how that's the divine propaganda, right? A guest faculty. No, they're adjunct. Okay, starvation wages. Okay, but you can tell the students this professor is a guest faculty. They will not be available for office hours, and they will not be available for a letter of recommendation. Okay, keep everything on the table from the start so students know. Okay, I can't get a letter of recommendation. Okay. I think that's very reasonable, okay? I also think that letters of recommendation in general are a huge burden on someone's time. even a full-time professor, if they have 10 students asking for a letter of recommendations, well, you want those letter of recommendations to be solid. I think a good letter of recommendation takes about 2 to 3 hours of work. So now you have 10 students asking for letters of recommendation. That's 30 hours of extra work. Don't tell me that's included in the gross pay. Don't pull that bullshit on us, okay? So I think college and university have to start moving away from this. It is just professors do not have enough time in the day anymore with all the extra tasks that they're required to do letters of recommendations. It's a burden on people's time. Get rid of letter of recommendation. Or in regards to the starvation wages, let's actually first look at, respecting the contract, okay? I think if you have to offer a class for the entire semester, okay? And if you can't honor that, if enrollment isn't high, you must pay the full wages for the missing classes. Okay, you do not have a right to ask a professor, are you available? And then you renege. I don't care that it was just an email. You screw that professor over. You must pay the full salary. Okay? Now, let's look at the tyranny that are the starvation wages. Starvation wages, starvation wages, starvation wages. I just want to take a quick, I know it sounds like I'm ranting, but I cannot fathom the fact that all these colleges and universities that are waving the progressive flag are paying starvation wages. That is the final nail in the coffin that it's all bullshit. It is not true. They are not being honest. Look at how they treat their starving faculty, their adjunct faculty, okay? So, if colleges and universities are going to insist on paying starvation wages, I think they should be required to pay the full health insurance of their adjunct faculty. Because after all, if I'm only making $2,000 for a whole semester or $6,000 in the case of Union County College for a whole semester, despite the fact that it's essentially full-time work or very close to full-time work, what am I going to do if I have to go to the doctor? Well, you don't go to the doctor when you're an adjunct faculty. Why? Because every time you go to the doctor, even if you have health insurance, you still have to pay some kind of fee. Okay, there's always some fee. I don't go to the doctor because I can't afford it. I can't afford to go to the doctor. It is a burden on me financially. Okay? So I think colleges and universities, when it comes to the adjunct faculty, they must pay full health insurance. Okay? Now, let's watch out for the divine propaganda. What's the divine propaganda? Well, if we were to pass a law that says you must pay the full health insurance, okay? Well, first of all, what they're going to do, they offer inferior health insurance than their full-time faculty. That's the first thing they do. I know a scam artist. We know it so well. Okay? Saw a lot of that in France. So the first thing they do is they're going to offer inferior quality health insurance. But even let's say they had good health insurance and they had to pay 100%. What would they do? They lower the wages. It's a business. They always find a way to maintain the status quo and keep the professors down because they don't want to invest. It's annoying to have to spend money, okay? That's less money that you have for other services, okay? But at a certain point, I think we have to take the case to the students. As a student, do you feel comfortable knowing that your teacher is living off a starvation wage? That your teacher cannot survive off of the wages? Okay? So at a certain point, someone's going to have to pay. Students are going to have to pay more. Okay? If you're someone that is currently an adjunct professor, I'm curious to know what your experiences are. Maybe they're not as bad as mine. I think also the other thing is when we first start off, we don't realize things are bad. You know, when you're younger and you go through a trauma or something really horrible, you might not even realize that it was, whoa, that wasn't okay. That was not okay. Did you ever have that? Well, that's how I feel in regards to adjunct teaching. I look back now that 7 years later, however long, I'm like, hold up, that was not okay. There is a solution, but we have to force the solution. We must scream bloody murder